Hello, everyone. And before we start our episode, I wanted to preface this by saying that originally I had done everything in a live recording. However, for some reason the microphone didn't record, and I really didn't want this run to go to waste. So, the episode is going to be in post commentary form. I'll be very careful that this doesn't happen in the future. So I just want to let you guys know that before we started. Hello everyone to Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. This time we are going to be playing the extra stage, and as I said before, this is a post commentary. So, the basic plot is that Remelia has visited the shrine after the incident, and apparently there's still commotions going on at the mansion, so our heroines are going to investigate. I'm going to play as Marissa this time since I played as Reimu in the main story. So, the stage starts off with this nice little streaming aimed section. If you miss too much power, don't worry because the section afterward has a lot of big power items for you, so it's really easy to get full power very quickly in this stage. This is the section I was talking about, and the enemies kind of like spawn from the screen, but then they like consecutively start spawning across the screen, so you can kind of like do a sweep across and kill them before they can fire too much, which trivializes it. Although, heaven help you if you want to graze those, because I don't even know. So this section right here, the basic premise is that you want to kill all of the enemies before they fire. Well, they will still fire, but they'll fire less if you can kill them quickly, and you have to memorize their spawn points. Alright, and now this section is your first instance of a Touhou Death Fairy. So what a Death Fairy is, it's a fairy that has a lot of HP and invulnerability. So they will take a while to kill, which means you're going to have to do some dodging. And we're at the mid-boss already. So our mid-boss for this stage is Pacholi. She returns from stage 4, and she has a few new spells in her arsenal, so let's see what she has to offer. So her first spell, Silent Selene or Selene, I'm not sure how to say that. The challenge for this one is trying to stay under her, because if she moves too far away, especially when you're Marissa, it can be really hard to finish it off, which means it might have to be, it might last a long time, which it is doing here. Alright, now we have Royal Flare. This one is a memorization spell. You just have to learn a route. I like to start in the middle and then kind of go to the left around that wave that you saw. And then I'll kind of make my way back in the middle and finish it off. And then the third spell, Philosopher's Stone. This one, there's no real trick other than don't be afraid to go out of the middle if you see that you're going to get hit. But luckily it has low HP and you can damage her easily, so it'll go down pretty fast. The part after the mid-boss is just a bunch of aim stuff, so nothing too much there. And then for this section, if you stream, as my apparent new catchphrase goes, everything will be just fine. Yeah, I guess I did kind of say that a lot in the last episode, so I guess it's become kind of a catchphrase. Everything will be just fine, and this is insane. So this section right here is a flurry of random pellets, and some of the pellets are aimed. They're books, and they will fire lots at you, but luckily it's not crazy like stage 4 was. So for the end section, I like to go to the right and kind of misdirect stuff and then make a sweep to the left, because I want to be on the left side of the screen to start this streaming section. Make sure you're shooting here too, because the last fairy drops an extend, and you don't get any score extends in this stage. You only get them from items. And the resources you see here are all the resources you get in this stage. So now that we're at the boss, I guess I should preface by saying that extra bosses are different than the main game because of the fact that they have tons of attacks. Like, they have like 10 spell cards and 8 non-spells, so it's gonna be a long fight. So let's see who our boss is. Earlier we saw Sister of Scarlet, so we can only assume that this character has a lot to do with Remelia. It's a vampire. Her name is Flandre Scarlet, and apparently she's like really insane and all-powerful. And her theme, You and Owen Was Her, is one of the most well-known songs in the Touhou series. Personally though, I still find Remelia's fight harder on Lunatic, but details. Another thing I guess I can note is that for the extra bosses, their spell cards tend to be more trick-based than the main game, so there's that. The non-spells... Actually, all of Flandre's non-spells aren't really that notable. They're just kind of like light rings, so they're not really hard to do, but that's a good thing, because the emphasis is on the spells. So for Cranberry Trap, which is the first spell, I like to start in the middle and slowly stream downward, and then stream up back into the middle, and then rinse and repeat until the spell's over. If you're Reimu A, the familiars will absorb your homing shots, so you'll do less damage. The second non-spell is probably the hardest one in the lot, but even that's not saying too much. The second spell, Levitine, is a complete memorization spell, although you'll have to do some weird spins, so it might take you out of your comfort zone a little bit, but it's not too bad. If you're Reimu, try to be careful about the laser not catching you, because with her speed it can be a little hard to outrun the laser. Marissa though, it's pretty fine. And then this non-spell is probably the easiest one in the lot. As you can see, it's not really dense at all. The third spell, which one is this? Oh yeah, it's 4 of a kind, so she'll start spawning clones, but you only have to kill the real Flandre, which is the one with the spell circle on it. She usually hangs around into like the middle to left area. Luckily with Marissa B's illusion lasers, it's really easy to damage her because you can pierce through the other Flandres. Alright, fourth spell, Kagame is a little weird. She'll like spawn this giant bird cage or whatever made out of green balls, and then she'll fire bubbles that will break the cage. Sometimes this can throw like really weird like wall things, but it doesn't happen too often, fortunately. Annoying thing about this thing though is that she can stay really far to the right or the left of the screen, so you might not be able to damage her, so this card might last a long time. Again, there's nothing too notable to say about the non-spells. Alright, Maze of Love. So this spell is a spell that usually catches people off guard the first time they see it. So the trick is that you have to kind of spiral around her. And the way I like to approach this is I don't go into the gaps. I let the gaps go into me, if that makes sense. Makes it a lot easier to deal with. There is a strat where you can just like stay at the bottom of the screen and do some like really precise micro tapping, but I don't really bother with that because it's weird and inconsistent. So Starbro Break is the most random dodgy of the lot, I guess. There is a safe spot on the top left of the screen on the enemy counter. I think it's on the letter N. I'm not too sure, but that's a lame way to do it, you know? The only real trick here though is just try not to hug the bottom completely because you don't want to run out of space. This non-spell is a lot like the second one in the sense that it's really dense, but it's not as hard as the second one. Alright, and now we're at Catadioptric, which is a weird spell. The general strategy is to kind of hang around the bottom right side of the screen, because that's where it's usually the safest. It might take a while to finish her off, but she does move to that side of the screen frequently enough for you to do enough damage. And then the last non-spell is just aim stuff. The only challenge here is trying to finish her off as Marissa, but if you just restream frequently, you'll do enough damage that it will all work out. Or, as I should say, everything will just be fine. Counterclock. So this spell is actually really cool looking. There's like these, I don't know what they're called, spokes? They're like plus signs, and they kind of move around the screen. The trick for those is that their hitbox despawns before the sprite does, kind of like Pacholi's non-spells, so you can get away with more than you might think. It's also 100% static. There's that. Oh, this spell. So this is the first instance of a timeout spell, which means that you have to time it down to finish it off and capture it. This one is a little annoying because the first phase can be really inconsistent in wall you. I try to do like a kind of like a rectangular movement, but unfortunately I got really bad luck here. I wish I had a live recording of this still, because the reaction I had here was pretty epic. Like, I thought I was legitimately screwed, but I got really lucky and somehow made it through that, and that kind of saved the run, because I wanted to capture everything. For this section, the trick is to not hesitate. If you let these push you around and you try to move too late out of the little borders, then you might get trapped in the middle and die. Although it's a really nicely looking designed section. I really like the way it looks. It's really pretty. It starts speeding up at the ends, and like all the colored waves will start coming in at once. So when you start approaching the end, what you want to do is kind of make your way to the middle. And then make sure you're shooting as soon as that ends, because you can damage Flandre's last spell before it even starts because of a glitch. So this is QED. This is an insane spell. It starts off rather light, but don't underestimate it. It's the hardest thing Flandre has, and it's insane if you actually try to time it down. So what happens is she just fires rings that reflect off the wall, but they get faster and faster, so it gets really hectic, but it's also super fun to dodge. There is a trick to this. What you gotta do is you have to say pork chop sandwiches. So just say it, pork chop sandwiches, and everything will be fine. Shout out to my boy Mickey, he's a pretty cool guy. So that's Flandre for you. Yeah, it's a shame that I couldn't get this live. I mean, I would have liked to have kept my reactions, but it's fine, it's fine. I'm still glad I was able to like post-commentate it. So that is EoSD. There's not really much else for me to do in this game. I don't know if I'll do like a scoring episode since I'm not too knowledgeable about the system, but we'll see what happens in the future. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when we tackle my favorite game.